Hello, everyone, and welcome to another True Crime Tuesday. So, today's case is going to be about the disappearance of Lisa Stebic. I think this is a pretty well known case because I listened to a podcast on this, but I also found that several people on YouTube covered this story, so I think it's probably really well known in the United States, but I had never heard of it. And obviously I don't live there, so I don't hear like all the news reports and stuff that go on. So yeah, you might have heard of it. I hadn't, so let's get into the case. So Lisa Stebic was 37 years old when she went missing from her hometown of Plainfield, Illinois on April 30th, 2007. She was a mom of two. I think her children were 10 and 12 at the time that it happened. And she was married to a man called Gregg Stebic. Now, her and Gregg were having marital issues, but that wasn't a secret. They continued to live together for the kids, and I think they planned to live together until the divorce was final. But a few months prior, Gregg had started divorce proceedings, and they were both dating, and it seemed like it was a pretty amicable divorce. In fact, Lisa was dating like one guy for a couple of months already, which Gregg knew about and seemed fine with. But behind closed doors, it was actually a lot worse. Lisa was terrified of Gregg, or at least she told some of her friends that she was. He was very emotionally abusive, and he was very possessive, and she was worried that his behavior was having a negative effect on the kids' mental health, and she really wanted him out of the house. On the day she went missing, her divorce lawyer actually sent papers over to the house to formally evict Gregg. I've also seen it said that she sent papers off to him to get Gregg evicted, but I think from how the story goes, I believe that the papers were sent to the house to formally evict Gregg. They were also having financial issues. I believe Gregg got fired from his job recently, and they couldn't afford their house anymore either. So there was a lot going on, a lot of like stress on their marriage and stuff like that. So on the day, on April 30th, 2007, Gregg was the last person to see Lisa alive, and I use quotation marks because he never actually saw her. So, according to him, he had sent the kids off to a local shop to get some candy, and they went by bike. He was working in the backyard, and he heard Lisa leave the house. So he never actually saw her leave the house. He said that he heard her leave the house. When she didn't show up for work the next morning, her neighbor actually reported her missing to police. It wasn't even Gregg that did it. And he did go to police a few hours later to report her missing, but it's kind of bizarre that the neighbor did it first. Now, authorities immediately took it very seriously and started a search for Lisa. Police questioned Gregg, where he told them that he heard her leave and that she was going to the nearby high school where there was like a running track, and she would go running there because she did that almost every day. That was her workout. She would go running on that track. But her car was still at home. So Gregg said that she probably walked and left her car, but police didn't believe that because the track was like an hour walk from the house, so it was a bit bizarre to walk an hour back and forth and then still to go running. So Gregg then said, well, maybe she got a lift from someone that she knew to go there. But her friends have said that that would never be the case, that Lisa would never take a lift from someone. She didn't go anywhere without her car. But police did find on her Facebook page that she made a call out a few weeks prior to find a new running buddy to go with her. She did specifically ask for female, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that she found someone and that they picked her up to go to the track. But police, didn't fully believe Gregg's story either. They also questioned why the neighbor reported her missing and Gregg didn't, but the neighbors told police that Lisa had come to them a few weeks prior and said, if something happens where I don't come home for a long time, then you can assume something terrible happened to me and you need to go to police. So Lisa was obviously terrified that something bad would happen to her, not necessarily by Gregg, but definitely that someone was trying to hurt her. So police looked more into the divorce and all, the eviction letters going on that day. But Gregg said that he never even knew about the eviction letters, and unfortunately there's no way for police to prove it either way. He told police that he believes that she ran off on her own because she was tired of living with him and couldn't handle the situation anymore. But the family said that there's no way because she would never leave her kids behind, and she knew that Gregg was very close to being out of her house. Like I said, she either sent off papers herself, which would have meant at most it was a couple of more weeks, but I think she actually got the eviction letter that day, so he would have been out of the house very soon. So police decided they were going to track her phone to see if she ever made it to the running track that night. But this is where Gregg's possessive nature really shows up. He only allowed Lisa to have a prepaid phone, so police couldn't actually track her whereabouts that night. So instead they went to the track. Lisa went there almost every day, so she was a very familiar face there, and they asked people who were there whether they saw her, but nobody saw her that night. So she clearly didn't show up to the track that night. So a huge search party was set up. They brought divers in to search the nearby lakes. They even searched Gregg's father's cabin in Michigan. That just shows you how thorough they were. I mean, Gregg was there the weekend before. I don't know really why they searched it because he wasn't there right after she disappeared, but they were so thorough that they even went and searched in a different state, They searched the family home as well, and they found no less than 15 guns in the house. Most of them were used for hunting because Gregg was an avid hunter. Some of them were just guns for fun, I guess, for fun shooting. I do believe that he had a permit for all of them because he wasn't arrested on possession of an illegal firearm. So I take it that he had a permit for all of them. But what they also found is a tarp in the back of Gregg's truck that had some blood on it. Now Gregg was very quick to say that it was animal blood because he was a hunter, but when they tested the blood, it came back as showing that it was Lisa's. Here's the problem with it though, it wasn't an awful lot of blood. It was actually too small an amount for them to be able to make out if something bad had happened to her. And I have read people on Reddit say that, as a woman, their blood was on a husband's tarp before in a truck. If you spend a lot of time together as a married couple in a truck and you make a lot of trips everywhere, it's not inconceivable that your blood would end up on that tarp. And it was a very small amount, but it's very suspicious that it happens, that they find it just at the time that she disappeared. But they did file it away into evidence, but they couldn't do anything with it because it was too small an amount. In June, Gregg was named a person of interest by police. However, he has never in this case been named a suspect. And it is important that you know there's a difference. Like in some cases, when police are, for example, looking for someone, in the Delphi murders case, for example, when they were looking for the person in the photo, they named them a person of interest even though they're a suspect because they don't want to scare them off. They want them to willingly come forward. But there are a lot of times when a person is genuinely just a person of interest, meaning police believe that they were either an important witness or have information that could solve the case. Since Gregg was in the middle of the whole investigation, I think if he was a suspect, because they had enough evidence, they would have named him a suspect, but they never did. So there clearly wasn't enough evidence against him. He, at that point, also stopped cooperating completely. He wouldn't take a polygraph test. He wouldn't talk to police anymore. And he also prevented police from doing any interviews with his children. A lot of people find that suspicious and think that maybe the children saw something and he wanted to prevent them from telling police. But they are in their 20s now and they never came forward with information, so I don't think that's true. A few strange things that did happen, though, is that shortly after all this happened, he tried to file for sole custody of his children. The motion was denied, obviously, by police, or whoever, I guess by a judge, but police intervened because his reasoning was that he believed his wife took off on her own accord and he was worried she would come back one day and take the children away from him, and he wanted to prevent that from happening. But police said they strongly believe that foul play was involved, that something bad happened to her, and it is not right to take away her parental rights because of something like this. At the same time, also, he stopped all divorce proceedings, which completely counteracts the custody thing. Like, the custody thing was because he believed she left herself and would come back for the kids. To stop divorce proceedings, that more indicates to me that he knows she's not coming back, and then he doesn't need to divorce her anymore. I find that a very strange thing, that you stop divorce proceedings when someone goes missing. I mean, I don't know. It kind of indicates to me that he doesn't believe she's coming back. Lisa's family spent months organizing fundraisers to help fund her search. On one of those fundraisers, Lisa and Gregg's kids attended, and Lisa's family went over to them to say, your mom would never leave you. She loves you very much. This was not her choice. And after that, Gregg banned them from having any contact with Lisa's family. Like I said, they are in their 20s today, and they still do not have any contact with their family, apparently by choice, which makes you wonder whether Gregg manipulated them into thinking that her family was bad, or that, into really believing that their mother abandoned them, because all her family ever did was try really hard to find her, and the fact that they don't want to talk to them anymore now, I find that a little bit strange. The case gained really widespread coverage. A lot of tips came in, but they all led to nothing. Police questioned a bunch of people. They even questioned the man she was dating. I don't know if she was still dating him at the time she disappeared, or or if it ended right before. But they were able to rule him out. They keep coming back to Gregg like it was the only person that made sense to them. And it didn't help his case that in 2009 he was arrested for assault after threatening a neighbor. I don't know if it's the same neighbor that reported Lisa missing, but I wouldn't find it that's all there is in this case in terms of like facts. So I'll quickly discuss some theories, but I mean, yeah, let's start with the main obvious theory is that Gregg is involved in her disappearance. There's a couple of strange things that happened, right? So he sent his kids away. Lisa left the house, and like eviction letters came in that day, and all of that happened in like the same time frame. He also wouldn't cooperate anymore. Then the fact that he filed for sole custody but also stopped divorce proceedings was very sketchy. And apparently, he also took the kids to Target after they came back home from the shop, which is weird because if he sent them to the shop to get candy, why then take them to Target where they can also get candy? Like, it's weird. So, here's the theory, I guess, is that he sent them away to get candy so that he would have time to dispose of Lisa's body. The time frame wouldn't be long enough, okay, at best, because they took their bikes. At best, they would have been gone for half an hour. I think, like, the nearest shop was, like 10 minutes. 10 minutes by bike, I think slightly less, and then there was a gas station a little bit further away, but I think at most they would have been gone for half an hour, which isn't a long enough time frame for him to do something to her and then dispose of her. But I don't find it hard to believe that he actually killed her when the kids were home, that maybe there was an altercation in the bedroom and it happened, you know, the kids weren't there to see it, or even that he like killed her in the kitchen while the kids were in the living room, and in order for them not to see it, he quickly sent them away. I don't know. But if he took them to Target afterwards, I guess his plan was to go to Target with them anyway. The fact that he sent them away specifically to get candy, I find it suspicious, and it almost looks like he did it just to dispose of her body. But I mean, he would have had to do it in such a way that they never found her, because there is no trace of her whatsoever. Also, I will say this in his defense, a lot of this is circumstantial. There is really no evidence tying him to her disappearance. His behavior is strange. They were going through marital issues. But you know, there's strange people out there. That doesn't mean they're killers. I'm not saying that I don't think he did it. I think it's the most obvious answer that he did it, but there's something holding me back from fully believing it, because I just don't think there's enough evidence against him. But I also don't know what else would have happened to her. I mean, the second theory is that she was picked up by someone that day, and someone who had bad intentions. But unless that she met up with like some guy for a date and didn't tell anyone, if it was like her new running buddy, it would have been a woman, because that's all she was looking for. And statistically, I'm not saying that it can't happen, but statistically, women don't kill people randomly. Women are more crimes of passion, or like for an emotional reason. Like killing someone that you just met for no reason is not a very likely scenario, I don't think. But I'm not saying it's not possible. And then the third theory would be that she walked away because she was tired of her life with Gregg. I'm just putting it in there because it is a theory, but I don't believe this one. I mean, I don't believe she would have left her kids with a man who she was afraid of would hurt her. And she did know that he was going to be out of the house soon, so there was definitely light at the end of the tunnel. And for that, I don't believe she would have left, and definitely not left and never came back for her kids. It's also not like she packed bags and cleared out her bank account. She left the house to go running and never came back. So I definitely don't think that. I mean, the most obvious is that Gregg did it. I just don't think that they're ever going to be able to prove that, because there's no evidence tying him to it. And I think for that reason, this happened 12 years ago, and that's why I'm happy that there's people covering cases like this, because I don't have hope that this is going to get solved, but I am glad that I know her story, and I think it's nice that people will remember her, and will know her story. The case has pretty much gone cold. The police do still have a tip line open, and occasionally tips come in, but they don't lead to anything, and I don't think police are actively investigating this case anymore. And like I said, I don't have much hope that it'll get solved, but at least people know her story, and I think that's a nice outcome of it. So let me know your theories down below, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.